All right, good day, ladies and gentlemen. You're welcome to today's tutorial. Today we'll be looking at the concept of functions in JavaScript. So let's get started. So, as our usual pattern is, I don't think I'll need this. Okay. So first of all, what are functions? So we have functions. Functions in JavaScript is basically a block of codes or programs that allows us to write reusable codes. The key there is reusable, reusability, and then it also makes for cleaner. So codes are that's not a codes are reusable and then they are cleaner. So that's what functions helps us to do. It helps us to write blocks of codes that are reusable and then helps us to organize or make a cleaner organize our codes in a cleaner and more predictable fashion. So I think that's you will get to understand it when we get started. So how do we write functions in JavaScript? So let's take a basic case study. I think that will, let's say I want to calculate the area of a rectangle. So I have a rectangle that has length. I have the length property. I have the length, let's say 30 centimeters. Of course, I won't write the centimeter there. I have the width to be maybe 10 2 given. Now to calculate the area, I can say let area becomes length. I have the formula there. This is mathematics, so not JavaScript. Length times width. We already know this from our primary, basic primary. So I can now say console.log. I've gotten my result. Console.log area is now going to be my area variable. So I've solved this problem, for example. So I can go and run. So I have my area there to be 300. So problem solved. Let's say after you have solved this problem and then maybe your teacher comes back and now say, hey, please, I made a mistake. This length is not 30 centimeters. The length there is maybe 25 or so. So that means you have to re-edit this 25 like that, and then the answer is there. So this means I have to write these four lines to show my results. Anytime I want to calculate the area of a rectangle, I have to write all these four lines in order to do that. Now, so it means this program is not reusable. I can't reuse these lines of code to help me organize my code in a better way. So to do that, I can use functions. How do we make functions? So to create a function, use the function keyword. So you have function. So I have function there. So you put the name of the function, maybe area. I want to use area as the, I can as well say rect area. That's the area of a rectangle, and then open and close parentheses, and then open and close block. So whatever you put your blocks here, statements here, your function statement will go inside this block. So this is a basic syntax of how we write function. You use first of all the function keyword, and then the name of the function, and then open and close parentheses, and then you put the statement. So whatever the function does will be captured in this block inside this open and close curly braces. So in this case, I can cut out all this. So I'll copy it first and then comment them so that they are no longer existent. So I'll paste. So I have this block of code inside this my function. So now that I have it now let me run. See, nothing is on the console even though I have my function here. Why is this thing happening? It's because what I've basically done by this is that I've defined a function. So JavaScript is aware of this function, but I've not used this function anywhere in this script. So for us to use this function, I need to call this function. So I can come back here and now say rect area, which is the name of the function. And then since it's a function, so I call it that way. So this parenthesis open and close means to execute this function. I'm telling JavaScript to run this block of code inside this function. So if I do that, when I refresh, I have my answer printed out. So this is how we use functions. So you define a function and then write the logic, what the function does, and then you call the function anytime you want to use it anywhere in your code. So you can call this function. For example, I can call this function up to any amount of time I want to use it, and so anywhere I want to use it, and it will, each of them they are going to print their own result. So it now gives me a block of code that is usable anywhere, so I can use it anywhere in my script. So that is how we use function. Now in this case, for example, this function does not have any arguments. It doesn't have any arguments, so this function will only calculate the area of a rectangle. Let me save. This function will only calculate the area of a rectangle when the length is 25. But what if the length changes? Maybe the length is 1000, the length is 50. I can, in this open and close parenthesis, I can pass the arguments to this function there. For example, I can say length, give it any name I want, and then width. So this, for me to calculate the area, I need the length, I need to know the width of this, and then I can comment this out. So whatever the user has put in here, whatever you have put in here is now going to be used as the length and the width to calculate the result. So you see that if with this now, this anytime I call rect area, I have to pass in two arguments, the length and then the width. So I can call rect area here to say 25 is your length, and then your width is what, 10. So when I save and then run, I have the same answer. Now if this now makes this code reusable, I can calculate the area of a rectangle that the length is 0 and then the width is 100, is 10 there. So I can just use this to calculate, know that the area is 0. So I can calculate if the length is 500 and then the width is 100. So with this, so you can see I can extend I've extended this simple block to a variety of cases just by wrapping it in a function. So this is one of the vital ways that functions becomes in handy. Now there is also another thing to this function. We can pass an argument to this function so that this function now has an argument. Now another thing is with this function is that this function is not is only printing out area. There are some cases that I don't want the answer, the results of my calculation to be printed out immediately. Maybe I want to capture the result. I just want the function to calculate the area and give me the answer. Maybe I will use it in another way to produce the results. So in that way, we can just, this area that is being calculated, we can just return it and not print it to the console. So I can comment this out and then just say function has this return keyword. So return area. So the area that you have calculated, don't print it to the console, just return it. So you see that when I save and then run, so it's not printing anything to the console. So this rect area function that I'm calling here is only returning the value, but I'm not capturing it. So I can just say let area, I can even say area of rect. So this area of rect, whatever that is this function executes here, the area, the result will be returned, and when it's returned, it will be passed to this area of rect variable that I've defined here. I can now choose to print it to the console. Maybe, sorry, I can now choose to put it in a better function. The area of the rectangle is maybe something like this. Is maybe, let's say, area of rect, which is the number. I can now merge it with square centimeter, something of this nature. So when I run, the area of the rectangle is, I think that's 50,000 square centimeters. So that's how we use function. So just a quick recap. Functions helps us to write reusable and cleaner code. So I've defined a function. Maybe let me clean out all this so that you see that I only have 2 lines of, something is wrong. Okay, so I only have just 2 lines of code. I can as well as even say, I can even reduce this to, can copy everything out and just say return just length times width, which is the area, and everything works out fine. So just in a single line of code, I can calculate the area of any rectangle at all. Okay, you now tell me that the area of the rectangle is 0.005, and then, sorry, the length is now 0.0000000018 or so. So with this, I can calculate the area with still the same function. It has calculated the area there, 4 times 10 raised to power minus 10, which is it. So that's what function helps us. So now I've talked about function when it has an argument passed to it, and then function that has with return, and then how we call function. Now this function falls under the category we call named function. So this is a named function. Named function. Now there's also another set of functions that are called anonymous function. That's functions anonymous. Sorry, English. Anonymous functions. So anonymous functions are basically, I can say let area. So okay, let me say, do I have a variable rect area? That's it. Okay, I have a function named rect area. So okay, let me just say area is equal to assigned a function. So let me just show you can convert this function that we've written here to an anonymous function. So let me comment out that function there. Let me comment out everything. So we are now in anonymous. So just remove the name. So this becomes an anonymous function. So functions without a name. So whatever, when the function run, when I call this area, I'm just passing, this area, when it runs, Okay, first of all, what I'm just doing here is I'm declaring a function and assigning that function to a variable area. So when this function run, the values will be captured in area. So notice that when I still refresh, nothing happened because I've not called it. So to call this function, I can now say area, call it this way, pass the argument 20, maybe 18 as the width. Now when I run this function, nothing will be printed to the console because I've not captured, although this function is executing, is returning the area of the rectangle, but is not being printed. But I can still do something like this, console.log, that the area is, so now it's going to print out the area. The value, when this function executes, the return value is now going to be printed to the console. So area is that. So you can as well choose to capture this return value in a variable and then print it to the console. So this is anonymous function. There are also another type of function. These are called ifs also. Immediately invoked grammar function